Good morning. Today we're going to look at the best deals for new board games, and all of these deals come from Amazon. Now, why Amazon? Well, because as the programmer of the app that we're looking at today, Amazon has a really nice API for making this information available. Otherwise, it doesn't have to be Amazon. I just don't have access to other deals. However, if you go on this website of mine, theperfectboardgame.com, here's the main website, you can actually look up games organized by category that you select, and it pulls that information every single day. So today is March 10th, although just because it's March 10th doesn't mean that these deals are only going to last for today. Oftentimes they last for several days, or some of these games are on sale for weeks. But what I'm going to look at is new board games. So for new games, what I mean is any games after 2020. And the reason, 2020, you think that's not new, that's 3 years old. But the thing is, games that came out in 2022, a lot of them get a lot of hype from Kickstarter campaigns, and they go out there and people get excited about them. As soon as they're released, they're sold for full price. So a lot of the newest games aren't on sale yet. So we go back a little bit to 2020, and we still find some fantastic deals on what's available there. That's just kind of an arbitrary filter, though. 2020 is the cutoff that I use for defining new. And some of these games came out, I think some of them came out in 20, I see 20, yeah, a couple of these games came out in 2022. Anyway, let's go ahead and go through them one game at a time. So a few of these games, by the way, are also categorized as family games, and I actually did a review of the top 12 best deals for family games yesterday. One of those games is Twin Palms. So I will just briefly describe this one. It is a trick-taking game. I think it's fantastic. I own it. It's the trick-taking game where instead of playing one card on each trick, you always play two cards. And so you can construct whether you're going to play a good pair of cards or a bad pair of cards. You have much more control over losing a hand if you want to. It's really interesting how people try to bluff in this game. I think it's wonderful. It's a completely underrated game. For $9.95, I would absolutely buy this one. I think it's a fantastic deal. But we'll go to the next one here. The next game is What's Next. This one is also categorized as a family board game. And I talked about it yesterday, but again, this is a cooperative adventure game where you're going through cards, a choose your own adventure. But unlike other choose your own adventures where it's all chance and you can run into a situation where, tough luck, you made the bad decision, you lose, bop, bop. Everything is skill based. So you make a few choices and you get to a card and it says complete the following task, and it's it's one of these like physical challenges. The game comes with several components that you can use for these challenges, or you can use other items that are very commonly found around the house, like a pen or a cup or something. But I thought this was excellent. It comes with 3 adventures. There is a lot of ways to play the same adventure. I think it's an excellent game. And I do own it. I bought it myself. So, for $30. Oh, and also the component quality here. Let me just pull up some pictures of it. Okay, so they've got a card here. It's telling you what to do. You don't lose the game based on luck. You lose this game based on skill. Every time you fail at a challenge, you're stacking these tiles here. So, eventually, when that tower of peril collapse, that's what triggers losing the game. But as long as you can keep stacking, you can keep going, even if you fail at other challenges. And then, let's see. Here's a nice picture of what you've got. So there's like some tiles that you can use for build, kind of like tangrams. It shows you a silhouette. You're trying to place the tiles in order to match a silhouette. In this bag are pieces that you try to feel blindly. You reach your hand in and you're trying to feel something that matches a shape on a piece of paper. And then the last one here, this element is for flicking a disc. First rat. Yes. So, by the way, if you do leave some comments, I'll try to respond as I see them pop up. But if First Rat is on sale, oh man, I really want to try First Rat. Let's take a look at it really quick. Let's see what the sale is. $44. It doesn't say that marked off as a sale, but it's a good game. Okay, I'm gonna get back on track here. Back to deals. Okay, those ones I've talked about. Let's go. I didn't talk about this one yesterday. In fact, all the other ones are new since yesterday, except Juicy Fruits, which I can talk about extremely briefly because I don't like it very much. Anyway, Apollo. This is a really fascinating educational themed game. It's about the Apollo space missions. It's best as a two-player game. It says it plays more than two-player, but I really think it's a fantastic two-player game. What you have is on one side of the board are the astronauts. There's a screen between the two players so they can't see each other's boards. So you've got the astronauts. They're in charge of all of the controls for the space missions that they're on. And on the other side of the board is mission control, which, I said that. Yeah, this is mission control. So mission control is in charge of monitoring the astronauts' systems. Mostly this is a dice placing game, but the two players can't see the same information. They have to strategically use communication tokens. But there's like some excellent maps, and the cards have some great flavor text. It's a really fun dice game. That dice mechanic has nothing to do with space exploration, but the communication element in this game I think is very, very cool. I do think it's an underrated game. I'm not going to say that it's extraordinary. It is not a mind-blowing, incredible space game, but for $15, oh man, 38% off, I would absolutely get this, especially if you want a fun game that you can play with your family. If you've got a daughter or a son you want to play with, this would go very, very well. I've played it. I say it like it's got to be played with kids. I haven't played this with my kids. I've only played Apollo with adults my own age, and I've really enjoyed it. Okay, Juicy Fruits I think is not very exciting. It looks attractive, but mechanically there's not a lot that stands out about this game. Oh man, it's you're sliding these tokens around. Everybody has their own player board, and you're trying to get resources. It looks good, right? Trying to get resources to buy things worth victory points, and the way you get resources is by sliding them on your board. So for example, if you look at this lime here, you slide the lime 3 spaces down and collect 3 limes. The banana, though, you only have movement up or down, and it's only 1 space. So if you were to slide the banana, you would only get 1 banana. So, the mangosteen can slide 3, or if you slide it this way, it can only slide 1. If you get enough fruit, you can fill up these boats, and when these boats leave the island, take off the delivery, you gain more space. So, I kind of said I wasn't interested in it, but the more I describe it, the more interesting it sounds. I just think it's kind of a hollow game for looking super cute, and mostly, I use a lot of discretion when I buy games because I already have so many. Lost Ruins of Arnak for 33% off. Lost Ruins of Arnak is not a game that has greatly impressed me given how popular this game is. This is the kind of game you can find at like Target, right, or Barnes and Noble. It's kind of got that mass appeal to it, and it's a deck builder adventure game. So what you're trying to do is buy cards. You're buying cards in order to help you get certain resources that will help you either explore more locations on the map or move up on different research tracks to get points. So there are several spaces that become available as you play the game, and you've got a large research track on the right side that gives you bonuses as you advance on it. I'm always very critical of games that reach that very, very popular level, you know, where they become so mass produced, I guess. But this is a good game. I don't know if I would call $40 on sale though. I feel like Lost Ruins of Arnak is worth $40. But I will say, the nice thing about Lost Ruins of Arnak is you can play it online. And I have left a link in the description. It is available on Board Game Arena. So the next game is Cape May. This one hit my radar when I was browsing games on Amazon. And again, really attractive looking game. Oh, I think I was looking at this one because of the birds. I recently did a video on 5 games that are better than Wingspan, and this game has birds in it. So I was like, oh, is this any good? But I don't think this is a good buy, especially for $41. I will briefly describe it just the same. The idea of Cape May, I was going to look this up before the video. I wanted to double check. I believe it's dice rolling that moves you on this map. But you've got like a grid, and there are all of these streets here, and you have to follow the signs on the grid, so you're moving through the neighborhood. And as you move through the neighborhood, you're stopping at the buildings that get built by players throughout the course of the game, and the buildings can give you things as you pass through them, or if you land on a bird space, you get to randomly draw a bird from a bag. There's no trading of these birds. It's kind of like, I guess, thematically, the idea is you have a sighting. You see a bird, and you don't control what kind of birds you see, so there's no skill involved. It's just randomly draw a bird from a bag, and oh, look what bird I saw. Isn't that nice? If you can collect a complete set of birds, you get more victory points for that, but you have no control over trading these at any point during the game, so it really is just an element of luck. I really like when you add on a scoring mechanic like that, it feels so tacked on and artificial. Gameplay really isn't about the birds, and you can try to make yourself land on a bird space, but you can't control what bird comes out of it. Man, it might not have been dice. I'm trying to remember what the mechanic is for moving through this grid. It may have been cards, but in any case, you're moving through these little spaces and you're building constructions with the resources along the way. I think I actually wrote this. Anyway, not for $40. Okay, Bitoku. Bitoku, I think, is it's 2021. I was going to say, I think it's the newest game here that's on sale. I thoroughly investigated Bitoku when I was looking at my games that are better than Everdell research. I can show you which game I chose instead of Bitoku. If you want to find a cool game, take a look at Arborea, because Arborea is the game that I ultimately put on my list of games that's better than Everdell. It's a complex game. It's not available yet. This is a 2023 game. The Kickstarter just closed, so it's going to be a while before you can get your hands on this. Anyway, by comparison, I think this is a poorly designed game. Look how complicated it is. You look at this board and you think, wow, look how much stuff is going on. This game looks so rich. There's so much here. I bet this game is really strategic. I bet this game has some really cool mechanics. It's kind of a dice or worker placement game where you place dice to perform actions, and you can you augment the dice as you move them over the board. And it's kind of got this Japanese theme with like spirits. It certainly looks really cool. You're buying buildings, you're putting buildings on the board where the dice actions are performed. You've got player boards. There's a lot going on in this game. And if you are the kind of person who likes a complex game because you just enjoy complexity, that's all you like. You like having lots and lots of factors to consider when you make decisions. If you like that, you would love Bitoku. But for me personally, I love complex games, but I want to see the payoff. I want the gratification of either like the theme is really good, or the mechanics are unique, or the player interaction is especially dynamic and interesting. If game is just complex for complexity's sake, then that doesn't impress me, and I end up being disappointed. So I read through the rules of this. I really wanted to understand it. To understand it, I wanted to play a game that's this beautiful, and I just didn't want to when I was done learning all the rules. For $51 and 31% off, I would totally buy it if I only wanted to play games that were super, super complex. That brings me to the next game, Praga Caput Regni. So, Praga Caput Regni is also a complex game, and maybe even for complexity's sake. This is a puzzly game. It's basically tile placement. You're building out the village in Prague, and you are also contributing to, or you're moving along the university, different tracks. I'm not going to go too much into the theme about this game. There's a really cool rondel in this game. What's happening is every time you take an action, you pull off one of these tiles from the rondel, and then you rotate the rondel and put the tile that you placed in the back. So what that does is it causes all of the tiles that weren't placed to advance when the rondel is rotated, and as they advance, they enter into the blue sections, which make them provide a better bonus when you take the tile. Actions that were most recently taken have a greater cost. You're paying to take actions that people have taken more recently. And then where they are in the rondel, there's a bonus there as well. This is what I'm talking about when I say I like a complex game if it has a mechanic that I find really interesting. I think this rondel is fantastic. The tile placing, everything else, there's nothing super remarkable about this. I do think that the attention they put into the artwork and everything is really a love letter to the city of Prague. I think it's beautiful. This is the King Charles Bridge here. You can see these like three-dimensional tracks, the cathedral and the university. It's a pretty game, but it's very, very puzzly. Oh, and it does one more thing that I really like about it. It has a set number of turns. I think the entire game is exactly 16 turns, I believe. And I find that really satisfying when you know exactly how long a game is. Oh, I put my 60-second review on here. Okay. That's the player board. I think this is great, but my huge caution is this is a puzzly game with a cool mechanic. So if you don't like puzzly complex games, you certainly wouldn't like it. I do. That's all there is to it. Okay. The next game is Her Story. Boy, is this contrast with Praga and Bitoku. This is not a complex game. This is a simple game. This is like Ticket to Ride simple, or in complexity. I will also say that as the father of two daughters, this is the only game that I regularly tell other parents about. I tell them about this game even if they don't even like board games. I'm like, man, we have this board game. It's all about women in history. And so you've got tons of unique cards, 120, it says right there, 120 icons for women throughout history. And what you're trying to do is build a book by completing chapters about each of these women. So if you want to complete a chapter on Joan of Arc, you need to have, very abstract here, two, I think it's investigation tokens and 3 interview tokens. Why investigation tokens and interview tokens? It doesn't matter. They're just arbitrary resources. 2 blues and 3 greens, whatever. This one requires, I can't even say that name, Henrietta Perfectus Walsh. 2 yellows and 3 blues, whatever. You're taking resources on your turn, or you're building out these cards, but what I really like about it is at the end, you get to read the biographies. So when I play this with my kids, we actually make a bigger deal out of reading the biographies than we do of playing the game. Like, we make an event of it. We sit on the couch, everybody takes the cards that they've collected in the game, and we all read it together. And through doing that, we learn a lot. In fact, there's a ton of characters in here that I've never even heard of. I love it, but it's definitely because of its family appeal. All right. Oh, question that just dropped was, have I ever bought any of the Root expansions? I have not bought any Root expansions. I actually rarely buy expansions, but I have played at least one with the people who come to the board game gathering that I attend. Yeah, I get really excited about learning board game rules, and then it stops there. I don't want to learn the extra rules with the expansions. I just like how each game is distinct in its design. Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. Okay, so Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, I feel like I'm going to explain it as if you've never heard of it before, because I think that's the best way to do a review like this. This is one of the most popular board games on Board Game Geek, and it is because of its thematic appeal. It is essentially an introduction to Gloomhaven, which is a much bigger box with a ton more components, and it has a little book. And in the book, there's a map and a mission for every single page, and you play every mission right there in the book. I have a picture of that. So you build these characters, you have character sheets, and you have your miniature, and so you're really just playing a campaign with your miniature. This is an RPG, kind of like, Dungeons and Dragons or something, but what they've done that I think is so exceptional for Gloomhaven, and I would throw it in there, like every now and then you see a Dungeons and Dragons type inspired fantasy game that's implemented so well as a board game. Gloomhaven did it. Mage Knight did it. If I sat here and thought long enough, I'd think of some more examples. But there are some just really interesting mechanics on how you go through these campaigns. You go through your hand of cards, and at the end of each round of playing your hand of cards, you have to discard something in order to become stronger, which strengthens your character but weakens your hand. At least I think that's right. But here's the confession. While I have looked at this game and I admire this game for everything that it offers, I have not played this game because this game does not interest me. And that's why I'm also struggling to remember exactly how the card mechanic works. It is super cool. I have no interest in fantasy campaign style games. I would play it if somebody brought it and said, hey, play Jaws of the Lion with me. Oh my gosh, it's $34. I'm not going to buy it, but that's a really good price. All right. Oath. Here's what I can say about Oath. If you're watching this video and you aren't already familiar with Oath, then don't buy Oath. That's all there is to it. Because Oath is not an entry-level game. The people who need to play Oath are the people who are so into the hobby that they knew about Oath before it came out. Oath is made by Letter Games. Letter Games has made Root, which is very popular. They make all their games are like 4 letters long, like Ahoy and Vast and Root and Oath. And they all have a steep learning curve. The rules are very complex to learn. The gameplay isn't nearly as complex as the rules themselves because they love the designers, the company that produces these games. They love asymmetry and replayability and variation. So Oath, in fact, let me open that up again. Oath, the board that you play on, you can see, or it's a mat actually, is built out of cards that players play. So it's not just like a map, but the game setup, it depends on the players, how they play cards during the game, and each game is different from the previous game because how you play changes the objectives and the map. So there's a ton of variability here. What the game is about is trying to be the dominant power in this land. So there is a leader. I think they call it the Chancellor, if I remember correctly. They are the leader, and then you've got other people who are trying to either usurp the Chancellor or secede the Chancellor. And so you've got all kinds of different objectives that can come out during the game. And it's about getting influence and trying to throw other people off so that they can't become the dominant power, but you can instead. It's a very, very complex game to learn. And that's probably all I need to say about that. And lastly, Pan Am. This is killing me. I really want Pan Am, but I am trying to restrain myself. I keep buying too many games, and I feel like this game is so underrated. It just seems like I'll always be able to buy it because people don't want to play it. I don't know. It's always on sale. So Pan Am, first, let me tell you why I'm so interested in it. For whatever reason, I love games that have like a stock buying component to them. I think that they're fascinating because I like it when your best interests aren't always your own personal agenda. You can invest in other plans and possibly come out ahead. That's what I think is really cool about this game. So in this one, you are a small airline company, and as you build out your routes and own more, what do they call them? Hangars, airports? I can't remember what they are called. You're trying to spread out your influence on the map, but if you are successful at this, then the overarching, like, all-powerful Pan Am will buy your routes, and you'll make money from being acquired by Pan Am. Pan Am is not a player. Pan Am is is the game itself. And so at the end of the game, basically, everyone is going to be bought out by Pan Am, and what it will come down to is how much money you made from selling your work as it was being acquired. This is just a really smart thematic game. And whenever I see games that are so thematically well done, I get really excited about them. So a lot of stock buying, route building, and bidding. The way that you do everything is through bidding. You're bidding actions all over the map. So I think it's really cool. And this game has had so little attention, which I think is a real shame for a game that's so smart. I don't own it. I haven't even played it. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I really should buy that game. And I keep not buying it because I have I'm behind in making all my reviews. Whatever. When did this come out? 2020. Anyway, those are the 12 best deals on new games. But it doesn't stop there. No. You can click this little button, more deals, and you can just keep going and keep going. So many deals. There are some that, I'm not going to go into them in depth, but Beyond the Sun, I find Beyond the Sun is fantastic. That's available on Board Game Arena as well. I think Gutenberg is a wonderful auctioning game or bidding game. Some of these are just so cool. But the purpose of this video is only the top 12. So I'm going to stop there. I do want to ask that if you found this video useful, and if you're going to buy any of these games anyway, will you please buy them on or through this site? Because when you do that, the affiliate link helps support the existence of this page, and it supports me and my channel and all my other content. So it helps out a lot. Local Target had Juicy Fruits and Arnak for half off. Wow. So Arnak for $30? Yeah, I would buy Arnak for $30. I think I've been too hard on Juicy Fruits. Because it is thematically so uninspired, but the tile sliding mechanic probably is a lot of fun. Maybe I should try it someday. I'm not going to buy it. If I'm going to buy anything first, I'm going to buy Pan Am. All right. Thanks for watching.